Hey everybody, new video today. Now this topic is going to be named slightly differently so that I can post a link to it on my Twitter account so it doesn't get caught by the Twitter censors. So now what is going on here? What am I talking about? Grooming. Sort of the hows, when, whys, and wheres. I don't want to go too long into the history behind all of this, so I will give you guys a quick summary of certain things. Mainly, mainly for history's sake. That's the best way to put it. Um, we all know how all of this got started, going all the way back to the Loudoun County incidents with their school board. Um, but within that, what caused this seeming surge of grooming teachers, pedophile teachers, whatever you want to call it, is actually COVID. When COVID happened and all of these schools decided to go on to lockdown, you had a proliferation of a lot of good teachers, older teachers who kept the bad young teachers in check, teaching them that, hey, look, you don't need to teach this, you don't need to talk about this, leave this alone. Well, when COVID happened, all of these young teachers who had their own agendas, their allies or whatever, now they were free to talk about this crap. Because there were no longer any of the older teachers there saying, hey, look, no, you don't need to teach this crap. You don't need to do this. Nobody reporting on them. And also, you had a lot of the older generation teachers retiring during COVID because they were tired of it. It was time to retire. They were afraid of COVID, and the schools were talking about coming back with mask or no vaccinations, whatever. For a lot of these teachers, these old teachers, they were just like, it's no longer worth the hassle. I'm leaving. So now you already have a deficit of teachers in pretty much every school in every district across the country. Now you have a massive number of teachers quitting all of a sudden. Oh God, what are you going to do? What can you do? Well, you've got all these young teachers, some of them new, some of them coming in, some of them have been there for a little bit. You lean on them. Hey, yeah, we need you now more than ever. And now, how you look at some of these teachers, these groomer types, and you're like, why would anyone hire these people? Look at the way they look in the TikTok videos. Simple. They didn't look like that when they got hired on. They dressed nice, they dressed conservatively, they spoke well, they knew what they were talking about. But during COVID, they were free to be who they wanted to be. And this just translated over to when they got back into the schools physically. So that's why they started acting the way they've been acting. Now, some of these people, I will be honest, they're not really groomers. There's different types in every place. There's always been perverts who happen to be teachers. There's always been weirdos that happen to be teachers. What generally kept them in check was the older generation of teachers, or the straightforward, righteous type teachers, the good teachers, who kept these bad ones in check and made them conform to a standard of teaching. But without those teachers now in massive numbers, the bad ones crawl up to the surface and get more power than they should. So what are these teachers overall? Some of them are actually just pedophiles. They're just pedophiles, and they figured out that they can groom now unimpeded because they feel they have the protection of society to cover up what they're doing. Others are just neurotic, self-absorbed, selfish, slightly narcissistic people with a lot of mental and emotional health issues. And they are looking for validation everywhere. They spent 1 to 2 years cloistered off because of COVID, and TikTok and YouTube and all these other places were the only places they could run their mouths and expose and talk about who they were. Now they're coming back into the schools and, I want to talk more and more about who I am and what I do and all of this stuff. And it's just not healthy for the kids. But they're self-absorbed, they're narcissistic, they're young. And they think everybody needs to know their freaking business. They think it is their duty to teach the new generation not to be homophobic, not to be transphobic, or explaining to them that being non-binary, genderqueer, whatever is important somehow. It isn't important. That's your personal life and your personal business. The kids that you're teaching don't need to know that. But because these people have been cloistered away and they've been brainwashed to a certain extent ever since college about how their existence is so important because they're in a sexual, racial, ethnic idea minority, the ideology has taught them that their ideology, their way of thinking is the only thing that's important. Individualism is so important that you have to shove your identity and individuality onto kids because kids are the next generation. If you can sort of play with their heads and get them to accept that whatever you think you are is normal, just like their parents, just like being straight or cis or whatever. And these people are totally self-absorbed. They really truly believe that they're doing the right thing. Subconsciously, though, it's all about them. It's all about me. I need validation. And I can't get it from adults anymore because the adults don't care or their mindset has already been normalized in society. So much so that they're not getting any praise for being lesbian, gay, bi, non-binary, genderqueer, whatever the fuck ever. But they think the kids will give them their validation. So that's why they're doing this. Now then you have some who are actual allies. They're straight for the most part. And they just, oh, well, I'm an ally of this group over here. So I have to speak for this group that I'm allied with. And some of it is just their LGBTQ plus whatever LMNOP allies. The others are, they're pedo allies. They're allies or they're pedo adjacent. And so they think they're helping. Oh, well, I'm helping out my best friend who's into people younger. So, I'm just teaching these kids so that they find him or her normal. I'm not actually planning on molesting any kids themselves, and they don't think their friends would do it either. Or maybe they do. Who knows? You can't read everybody's mind, but you do know a standard of general behavior about certain things and certain people nowadays. And finally, you just have people who are absolute pedophiles. And some of them, they want to teach these kids, not because they know that they're going to get in these kids' pants at some point. You've only got a year to teach them. Then they move on. But their thought process is, well, what about next year? Mr. Salvador down the hall, he's a pedophile, just like me. So I'm teaching these kids to accept pedophilia and sexualizing them, awakening the child's sexual nature or sexuality. So, I can't get in the kids' pants, or maybe I really don't want to, but, I'll help out my pedo buddy down the hall a bit. So, Mr. Salvador can now molest little Johnny or little Susie first chance he gets because you've already warped the kid's mind. Now, I'm being a little hyperbolic, but I'm keeping it simple as possible because I know if I go into absolute detail about every little damn thing, this video will be 20, 30 minutes long, and that'll take forever to upload, and I don't think everybody will want to watch. So now, there is one more group and category that I need to discuss as to why this grooming is happening. One of the biggest reasons, in my opinion, is this: that these people aren't having children. These non-binary, genderqueer, LGBT, whatever the F they fucking are, they're not going to have kids. Or they can't have kids. Whatever's going on. We both know 2 men can't make a baby and 2 women can't make a baby. These people are in some ways utterly selfish. They want a kid because that instinct is in all human beings to procreate. The desire to procreate is there. And just because you're gay or lesbian or transgender doesn't mean that desire just disappears. It's still there. It's part of our genetics. It's part of our natural instincts to keep the human species going. But you're a lesbian, non-binary, gender queer otherkin, who's gonna date you? Who's gonna put up with your weird ass shit? Nobody. Not long enough to have a kid with you, especially if you're female. No, you're not interested in having sex with a guy in order to make a baby. And you can't afford artificial insemination, that type of crap, sperm donors. But you can teach other people's kids. You can train and groom and raise these kids in the way that you think is good for them. It's like they become your own kids in a way. And that's why they do this. This is their way of having children. This is their way of procreating and hopefully creating a little mini version of themselves. So you have this gay dude who wants to teach sexuality to kids. He's a history teacher. Why the fuck is he teaching about sexuality in his class at any point in time? Simple. He wants kids but can't have any on his own. But he can teach your kids to be gay if he wants. Or he can help awaken them to the idea that it's okay to be gay. That's his main purpose in all of this. It isn't because he wants to rape and molest. He just wants to create his own set of little gay children. So he can supplement, so he can satisfy the urge to procreate without actually having to put in the fucking work. You know, wiping butts and runny noses and paying for the child and everything. You know, raising the child. They don't really want to raise the kid. They don't want to start from scratch, kid out the womb and doing the damn thing. No. That's too much work. That's not what I'm supposed to do as a gay or a lesbian person. No, I'll just teach somebody else's kids. I'll turn somebody else's kids gay. Or bi. Or awaken their sexuality because, when I was younger, when I was their age, I already knew about myself. So I need to influence these young people, because I know, just like me, there had to be others just like me sitting in there right now, and they need somebody like me, this is what these teachers are saying, to come in and teach these kids so they can be awakened. The 5 or 6 year old knows that they're gay, they just don't have words for it yet. But here I am going to teach the 5 or 6 year old what it means to be gay. Doesn't matter that I'm just supposed to be teaching them math. No, we're going to teach them about being gay. So that 5-year-old boy or 6-year-old girl or 7-year-old boy, whatever, if they are gay but don't have the words for it yet, now here I come and I teach them about being LGBT. That awakens their understanding of sexuality and of themselves so that they don't have to feel bullied or unsure of who and what they are. And then to make me feel even better about myself, because I'm a self-absorbed, narcissistic little shit. When this kid comes to me and says, I think I'm transgendered too, or I think I'm gay or bi or lesbian or what the fuck ever it is, that teacher then feels, oh gosh, I have a little scion here, a little psychon that I can teach and help them become better. And they will love me for it. I will feel better about myself for it. I will be able to say in my later years, well, I trained and raised all of these young gay kids. No, you didn't. You just manipulated some poor kid into turning into something that you want. True teaching is just exactly what it is. It's teaching. You're helping them to understand the information of the world. That's what a teacher is. My mother was a teacher. I know exactly what she did for years. These people are just a bunch of narcissistic, self-absorbed children, children parading as adults, constantly trying to shove their view of the world on everybody else. And when everybody else rejects them, they go down to the lowest common denominator, the most easily manipulated people on earth, and it's children. Children are the most easily manipulated people on earth. And they know this. So that is why they are doing this. They are grooming. Some are grooming because they're perverts. They're pedophiles. Some are grooming because they're allies. Some are grooming because they can't have kids, but they want to have kids without putting in the work. And I've seen this over the years. This thing that's going on is just a more hyperbolic, bombastic, exhibitionist version of what I saw back when I was in my early 20s, where you had hordes of supposedly gay teachers or gay people or gay allies saying to the schools that you needed to have gay teachers openly teaching. You needed to have counselors for gay students. And they were talking about doing this as far back as elementary school. They were doing this. California was one of the first states to go along with this idea until the parents jumped down their fucking shit and said, no. No. No, these kids don't need to know these teachers are gay. You don't need to have gayness being taught or homosexual acceptance in sex ed for 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-olds. They don't need that. Maybe 13, 14-year-old, yeah, but not anybody in middle school. So that got shut down, but at the exact same time, while it was being shut down publicly, quietly and secretly, some of these people in the schools were going along with it. Okay, yeah, you can be openly gay. You can even have your boyfriend come and drop off your lunch. But no anything that appears to be sexual or sexualized in your teaching. So here we fast forward 20 years and they're at it again. They've just found some weird reasoning to get around generally what would be everybody shutting their shit down as quickly as possible. But they've already made it in deep enough. They may have already influenced a number of children. So once this does catch up, people do catch up and they start shutting this shit down. Well, it's already too late. You guys been sitting in the damn school for 2 to 5 years. He's already been manipulating your children. Or she has already been manipulating your children. So you might be too late, especially if you haven't been paying attention to your kids very well. And so you have to be careful as a person, as a parent. The schools also, while the schools, the school board, school councils, they're to blame, parents are also kind of to blame too, because we didn't watch until Loudoun County. When Loudoun County happened, that woke everybody up. Oh, wait a minute. What the fuck is going on in my school? Look, what the fuck is going on in Loudoun County? I need to find out what's going on in my school. When teachers and school boards and school councils think that the parents aren't paying attention, the weirdest, the weakest minded, and the most perverse always start creeping in. They always start creeping in and thinking that, well, now here's my chance. So this is really the only way to counter it. Just kick these people out of the schools. Change your school boards. And if your school is just desperate for teachers, and I understand that, believe me, over the last 30 years, the number of students, the number of teacher to student ratio has plummeted, especially in the last, let's say, the last 15 years. It's plummeted horribly. And you have a lot of these schools that are hurting for teachers. That's why they allow these little weirdos to stay, because they're desperate for teachers. And because teachers' unions and the National Educational Board and all these other places, they're saying, oh, you can only have this many students per class, because the teachers will get overwhelmed and tired. Maybe if it's a bunch of kindergartners all the way up to 3rd grade, but by 4th grade, most of these kids can sit in a fucking chair and act like they got some damn sense. So whether it's 10, 12, or 20 kids in one class. And with the way the curriculum is now, where it's just basically handed out to teachers on paper, on a piece of paper, here's how you teach this year. Teacher shouldn't have that many problems, whether she's got 15 or 20 students. But, the teachers' unions, the National Education Board, what can I say? Democrat-run establishments nowadays who manipulate things. But I don't want to get too much into politics with this. This is about social engineering in the sickest, saddest way possible. The only way to combat this is that we call out these teachers, we find out who these teachers are, and we boot them out of the schools. Even if it seems a little detrimental at the moment. I'm pretty sure you can find another damn teacher. You can hire one of the old teachers, beg them to come back. Hey, look, we know you retired about 2-3 years ago, but please come back. Shit's all fucked up. But the reasons why these people are doing this, these teachers are grooming. Some of them are pedo LGBT allies. Some of them are pedo LGBT adjacent. Some of them are just selfish, narcissistic, self-absorbed people who need constant validation and self-aggrandizement. And they can't get it from the real world anymore, from the world of adults, because we no longer give a fuck about your lifestyle. Who you're marrying, who you're screwing, whatever. We don't care. We begrudgingly accepted gay marriage and all this other crap. And we can control you when you start acting like a fool out there in the business world. You know, we'll fire you if you keep acting like a dumbass at our work about your gender or your sexuality. We're like, look, shut the fuck up. But in schools, these people who become teachers can get away with it because they've got a captive audience. And that's why they do it. Because a lot of them, they're just so absorbed of self, so desperate for attention and validation, they will shove their lifestyle onto these kids. Not because they're pedos, but just because they're desperate for some validation beyond TikTok and Twitter. We've created a hive mind of people constantly needing validation to the point where they lose their individuality, constantly seeking virtue and love. Alright then, this video is now at 21 minutes. Alright folks, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Gab, and I'm also on BitChute. I will post those links in a pinned comment and maybe in the description as well. And I hope everybody has a blessed day. I'm going to try to make a couple more videos today. I hope you all enjoyed them. Please like, rate, subscribe, and please comment. You know, I need some comments to see what people are saying. All right, thank you.